This is Sam Husseini for The Real News. The Formula One Grand Prix just went ahead in Bahrain despite human rights objections over holding such an event in a country gripped by an uprising for 2 years, prompting a fresh wave of protests. During that time, the U.S. and Saudi-backed monarchy there has limited media access, exacerbating the minimal media coverage the uprising in the Gulf monarchy has received. I was able to get into Bahrain recently and interviewed Saeed Yusuf Al-Muftaha of the Bahrain Center for Human Rights. The president of that group, Nabil Rajab, continues to be jailed by the regime along with other human rights activists. Al-Muftaha, who I interviewed, was jailed for a month late last year for tweeting information about human rights abuses by the regime against protesters. Al-Muftaha recently wrote, "The United States is one of the countries supporting the Bahraini regime despite the Obama administration's claims to be on the side of democracy and human rights. Why does the administration often stay so silent on the situation in Bahrain and not announce its support for the legitimate demands of the Bahrainis to peaceful protest and for self-determination? We know Bahrain hosts a major U.S. military base. That is why it is so important for them to speak up for us and to say we are people who deserve democracy." I asked Al-Muftaha about repression in Bahrain and the course of the uprisings just before the Formula One or F1 Grand Prix that was just held in Bahrain and just as protests against it were starting. I interviewed him across the street from the police headquarters where he was recently imprisoned.
I was arrested here for 1 month. They kept me here 1 month for a tweet. I tweet what's happening in my country, so I was kept for 1 month. And they did not take me to the main jail because I'm the head of documentation in Bahrain Center for Human Rights. So the last time I was arrested last year, I went to the main jail and I have documented all the cases of the prisoner who were arrested, mistreatment, torture. So that's why it's the second time when they arrested me. They kept me here with one Asian prisoner who cannot speak my language, so I cannot document. So I was almost in a solitary confinement, but I cannot say in a solitary confinement because there is one Asian who cannot speak my language. Also not to let me document what's happening in the media, because my mistake in the first time that I was arrested, I document all the cases, and when I went out, I speak to media. I say thank you to the government for allowing me document the cases that I cannot document while I was outside. So I think they have learned of that mistake, and this is the next time when we arrested him, make sure that we kept him in somewhere else. So they kept me here in the nice place in the Hura police station.
Now, your tweet wasn't even really political. It was talking about what was happening during the protest.
Exactly. The tweet that I was arrested for, it was in English, and I say shotgun injury in the capital Manama. That's it. And they say that it is false information and no injury, but I no, there was injury, and I documented myself and I take picture of him. And they know they just want to discredit my credibility. I have credibility. I have 83,000 following me on Twitter inside Bahrain, credible source in Bahrain. The media inside Bahrain and outside Bahrain, they trust me and trust my tweets. So that's why they are angry about my human rights work. So that's why they arrested me. Especially that they arrested me 1 week after when I was in Brussels. I met with the MPs, EU MPs in the Brussels, and I told them about what's happening in my country. So 1 week after I was arrested. So in general, they are angry about my work, and also they benefit of it, so they can discredit my credibility. But it will not happen at all. They know, even the government, they know that I don't lie, I don't publish false information. All what I publish, I witness myself. And I take picture.
A cab driver who drove me today from the airport said there aren't much protests. There are no more. Maybe once in a while, he said, someone will burn a tire in the streets to block traffic. Well, is that accurate? What do you say about that?
1 hour ago, I was just in a protest, tens of thousands in the street demanding democracy and freedom in a village called Sitra. But there are 40 villages protesting on a daily basis from 2011 till today. Yes, we were suppressed, killed 100 protesters, killed 1,000 were tortured, 1,000 were arrested. 35 Shia mosques has been demolished as a collective punishment. 1,000 were suspended from their works as a collective punishment to those who attend the protest. We have paid a very high cost for our demanding for democracy and freedom, but still, and even Saudi troops came to my country, GCC troops came to my country to take part of the crackdown, but even with that did not work the stop. Now there are tens of thousands, and even the capital Manama, but the government don't allow the protests in the capital Manama at all, and they have arrested hundreds of protesters who were arrested, who were protesting in the capital Manama. They don't want in the capital anyone to protest. They don't want the media and the journalists and foreigners to see what's happening. They just want to hide what's happening, to make it only in the villages and far away from the capital. But still, till yesterday night, no. Yesterday night was a protest against the Formula One in the capital Manama, and it was attacked.
What happened?
As usual, they attack the protest with the tear gas and shotgun and rubber bullets. After that, the collective punishment will start. Collective punishment, I mean the riot police will come and will shoot tear gas inside the house, inside the window. We have video of police putting a tear gas inside the home and as a collective punishment. And because of that policy, 30 citizens died because of that. Most of them are old or children or women. They cannot make it, especially the children and the old men, according to the United Nations and the Human Rights Organization. And also many injury because of that policy from the short range. We have documented protesters killed from close range of the tear gas. They use the tear gas as a weapon. Even Physicians for Human Rights, American organizations called Physicians for Human Rights, they came to Bahrain and they published a report about how weaponizing the tear gas in Bahrain, and how the tear gas has been used in Bahrain as a weapon. And they have documented also protesters who were killed and protesters who suffocated from tear gas.
Coming up with the Formula One, what do you expect to have happen in the next couple of days, week?
You know, even last year it was many protests against the F1, and even this year, before the F1 came to Bahrain, and in the last 2 weeks, many protests against F1, especially in the villages very close to the F1. But because of F1, I mean, we are not against the sport and the F1, but because of F1, they came to Bahrain, a crackdown have started in my country. 50 protesters were arrested the last 2 weeks, especially who lives in the villages next to the F1. So the crackdown was focused on the villages to make them silent in the period of F1. We have issued a report in Bahrain Center for Human Rights for protesters being kidnapped, beaten, tortured, and then released, torture and secret detention. And also many house raids. School has been raided. Today morning, the riot police stormed a school and they have kidnapped a student, a 7-year-old student. And then after that, they shot tear gas inside the school. So, you know, we have people being arrested, house raid, checkpoint, many injury. We have documented 3 serious injury from a close range to the head. Also in the protest that was against the F1. One woman protest against the F1 in Samahij 3 days ago, and they have shot a woman. Her name is Sarah Ismail, 18 years old. She was shot in her head from close range, and she was taken to the hospital. And also we have documented 2 protesters were shot by tear gas from close range. All of them are suffering, unfortunately, because of F1. Because of the F1 coming to Bahrain, so the government is trying to suppress them. Also, as you know, the media are not covering my country in Bahrain, and the only time, the F1 time, so that's why there are many journalists here coming in Bahrain. So the government, they don't want them to see what's happening in Bahrain, so they want to crack down them, so at least they be sure that the journalists will not see anything, and even if they will see just a few people. I just came 1 hour ago from a protest, tens of thousands in the street. They will not be afraid. In the martial law, 3 month martial law, people have been killed even in the street. Day after, when the martial law has been finished, the tens of thousands went out in the street. You cannot imagine how people of Bahrain are very strict, and they are struggling for freedom from many years, not even when the Arab Spring started in the Middle East.
You said earlier to me that from Bahrain and 500,000 immigrant workers, Asia, South Asia, and so on. What is their status? Do they have rights in Bahrain? Have they participated at all in the protests, or are they two separate worlds, two separate things?
No, at all. The migrants, they don't participate in the protests at all in my country, because many of them are poor. They came from poor country, and they just want to live and to have to find a good job, and that's it. So that's why. Participating in a protest in Bahrain, calling for democracy, is a very high cost. It's not an easy. It's not like US, UK. They allow freedom of expression in Bahrain. In my country, Zakaria Al-Ashiri, he's a blogger. 2 years ago, he wrote an article in the internet, in his website, talking about the crackdown that has been started in Bahrain. 2 days after he was kidnapped from his home, tortured till death. I know many of them, I sit with many of them, they are in solidarity with us. They say, we know that you are struggling and fighting for democracy and freedom and human rights, and we do respect that. And
now these immigrants, it's very difficult or impossible for them to become citizens, right?
Yes, it is very, very impossible, but only for political issues. For example, the government of Bahrain, they are giving nationality to many people outside Bahrain, but those who are working in the police, for example, the police in Bahrain, 70-80% of them, they are not Bahraini. They are bring from Pakistan, Syria, even Jordan, Yemen, India, Bangladesh. Those who are working in the police, in the same date he came to Bahrain, he will get nationality, and it is not legal that someone come from outside and one day you get nationality. It's not legal, but there is the law is not implemented in my country. We are not in a state of law. When you see the attitude of the government giving nationality just because of political reason. Here in Bahrain, the majority are Shia. They bring people from outside, giving them nationality. All of them are Sunni, just to make a balance. It's not. It's a political. So that's why we call it the political naturalization in Bahrain. Just to take part of the crackdown, and also to make a balance between the opposition. And because most of the Shia and other are in the opposition, and there are Sunni and Shia in the opposition, but they just want to make balance between them.
I interviewed Al-Muhafda on April 16th. Since then, the Formula One race has come and gone to Bahrain, but the democracy movement and the repression continue. The race was won by a team sponsored by the drink Red Bull. Formula One race boss Bernie Eccleston wound up commenting that the Bahraini government was, quote, stupid to hold a Grand Prix because of the so-called opportunity it posed to political protesters. Asked whether he would ever consider taking F1 to other countries experiencing political unrest, such as Syria, Eccleston replied, quote, we'd have to have a look and see, close quote. For The Real News, this is Sam Husseini.